Hello, everyone. My name is Rollo Lutz. I'm here with Juniper. I work on the DC side, and I'm here with my partner, Micheal Dine.
Hey, everybody. I'm Micheal Dine, and I also work on the DC side. And I'm here with my partner, Rollo.
Well, Micheal, last time we talked about the architecture behind Juniper and talking about microservices. So along those same lines of what makes us a little different in architecture, why don't we also talk about underlying point of the architecture, our APIs. So how does Juniper do APIs? What makes us different in that aspect?
So that's a great question. And it is one of the things that does make us different. It's, when you boil it down, there are really just 5 things. It's the ability to see what's going on. It's the ability to do AI ops, all built on microservices, engaging with BLE tools. But then lastly, it's all built upon an open API infrastructure. And that's really, I view that as our linchpin in the whole thing. Without this, you wouldn't have all those other things. And how that makes us different, in my mind, is because it's completely open. This allows us to bring in different partners that aren't necessarily networking partners, able to bring in new solutions and generate new use cases that, a networking vendor couldn't deliver to you before. And it goes just beyond Juniper. Like I said, we have an entire ecosystem of partners today. I think there's, what is it, Raul? Something like 86, 90?
95 or something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy to think about that, right? So we're having an open ecosystem. And if you've ever seen the Mist, UI, the user interface, everything you see there is an API by itself. I believe the initiative is always API first. So anything that you see on our management tool, anything that we do within Mist itself is always built on API infrastructure first.
That's right. And because what you see is just a portion of all the APIs that are underneath.
Well, since we're already further into this topic than I would like to start this, what is an API? What can we describe as an API for those who are unfamiliar with the terminology?
I'm going to turn that around on you.
Why don't we start with just what is the definition of an API? So an API is an application programming interface. Basically, what this means is that it allows 2 applications to talk to each other in a world that, some messages may not get delivered when requested. So the API is just a messenger between those 2 applications talking to each other, providing the request and the delivery, and then going back and forth with responses. So people can use stuff like webhooks as well as Postman to be able to use an API properly in a organization or just in a tech atmosphere. When you think of APIs, you should be thinking about how machines are talking to each other, why they're talking to each other. So along that same aspect, Micheal, why is API so important to us in the tech industry as well as just in business in general?
I view it as it's the ability to do things quicker from an overall perspective. Back in my day, we wanted machines to talk to each other, have to write. It was usually some sort of proprietary program that you write, they speak to each other, or even like in the old network management days, things like SNMP and those types. It was an open protocol, but it wasn't very robust. It was a client-server type. With APIs, it's the ability to share information between machines in an efficient manner so that we can expand the services of those particular systems. Like for example, through APIs, you could have a mapping application that you're going to write. And what you want from out of Juniper is where's Rollo, where's Micheal in this network? Well, that's all done through API. Those are API calls. And because it's open, it's not a proprietary thing. So you're not locked in to a specific solution. So to me, that is what, for us in this narrow field, how I view the advantages and what we use APIs.
Yeah, and I would love to throw it back into kind of the tech side versus the business side of API. So the API from a tech standpoint is the ability to turn your automation 24/7. When we talk about from a Mist point of view and a network, it's being able to cover all those sites at the same time, being able to speed things up at a moment's notice, customize reports so that each site has its own visibility and its own report to, a specific people or maybe a specific audience. You already mentioned creating your own features off of an API is very beneficial to the partner community as well as the customer. So there's your business side of things. You can have your own feature that no one else does. You can scale to thousands of sites, as you mentioned before, making an API call to automate each site to be able to create an organization for 500 to 1,000 within a single Python command. And then also the other cool part about it for both tech and business is also the integration aspect of things. You need to integrate with other systems or other partners along the way. It doesn't necessarily mean just a software company. It could mean a hardware company. It could mean the integration of something that you never thought we could do before, and now we can because of automation such as APIs.
Yeah, exactly, because that really leads to almost like a limitless number of use cases through APIs. For example, Rollo, you know what it's like if you have a problem with your computer, what it's like. You got to pick up the phone, you got to call support, you sit on there for 20 minutes, half an hour, longer, and then when they answer the phone, you got to answer all these stupid questions, and that you really. Yeah, it's turned on. I've done all these things. I've rebooted, whatever. It's still not working. And then you have to give all your information and then give it to somebody else who will call you back. Through APIs, you can build integrations where you could actually talk to your phone, and there are videos on YouTube that do exactly that. It's like, hey, can you open up a ticket? My Wi-Fi sucks. And poof, it then does API calls into the Mist cloud. It gathers the information. It opens up the ticket, whatever ticketing system that you happen to be using, and then says, here's your case number, and somebody will be with you shortly, or I've assigned it to this person. And then that gets flagged internally to who's ever working the help desk. Here's a ticket. Here's all the information. Just think of the amount of time you're saving by doing that, because now I don't have to sit on the phone for half an hour. I don't have to speak to a human being. That's a bad thing, but you know what? And that's just like one small example of the power of the APIs.
Yeah, exactly. It's taking those simple configuration changes, whether it be like you said, contacting your small IT department and getting them to manage those everyday changes from like that password to a reset of a computer or whatever issue you have, providing them full access to your management system, and maybe even having to train them in CLI. All these are micro application leveraging things that you have to do within an IT organization. You can use the Mist APIs to allow those local operations to be managed simple, more conveniently, not having to go through as a network. You're not having to do all these meaningless tasks one by one. You can go into the Mist site and be able to do it all at once instead of having to do these one little nitpicks a day when you can do it all in a simple UI.
Right, exactly. And to me, this is, like I said, this is the linchpin of everything that we do in this. It's all based on APIs. And you can, as somebody who wants to create an application or already has one, it's a matter of just going to the Juniper website, mist.com/ecosystem, and you can register as a partner and start taking advantage of the things that we're able to do today.
And while you're talking about the ecosystem, why don't we also bring up the fact that we do have multiple sites and multiple videos that show you how to be able to do such a most people nowadays probably think, oh, this sounds so complicated. But realistically, we have lots of different documents out there, from an API class at Mist to documentations about everything from a Postman to webhooks such as that. So whether you're trying to create multiple templates for different organizations, maybe you're just trying to, from a site configuration, apply to 500 and scale out, or maybe if you're just trying to make templates and stuff like that. We have many different documentations to help those people who are just trying to get started and maybe have a small team or maybe a team of one. and grow that to their knowledge, to be able to grow it to what they can provide to their customers as well.
Right, exactly. I totally agree.
So Micheal, I think one thing that would help many people, including myself, is why don't we go through a use case scenario? What would be something very basic but very simple for someone to do an API call or just create their own API?
Well, actually, I was just watching a video earlier today from a guy who was using Postman. He didn't do anything with Python or anything like this. It was just, hey, I want to be able to, in this case, he wanted to do things like an RF template and assign it to sites. And he had an Excel spreadsheet. That's all he had. And like, here are all the sites that I have. Here's the locations, the building type, and then he added an RF template to it. He went into Postman, and he just went in and did a very few sets of commands in there to set it up to say, these are the things in the spreadsheet I'm looking for, and then ran it. You know, he didn't have to know Python to do that. He didn't need that level of expertise. Didn't need to know the expertise of how APIs work. Postman and a spreadsheet and knowing what it is that you want to do. So almost like intent networking in a way, or intent network management. I'll say it like that, where this is what I want to do. Because, you know, there was a day, you know, like when people talk about Ansible playbooks and all these other applications and Chef and all those things, they needed a certain level of expertise in order to do those things. And there are people that need to use those things. But there's also this, which allows you to reduce that complexity. And, you know, I don't have to be a master of Python in order to do that. I can barely make a tree in Python, but I can actually do this. So to me, that's very cool. I don't need to be a programming wizard to do it. So, and he showed it. So it's like, now I'm going to run it. He paused the video for like 3 or 4 minutes because it was a lot of sites he was doing. And then came back and it was like, went into the Mist portal and showed you, see, earlier there was nothing. And now look at all these sites and RF templates that I managed to install. Very simple.
Exactly. And if you ever go into the Mist portal itself and be able to check, you can actually go through our audit logs to be able to see all the changes that were made during those API calls. So you can also make sure to check that there is no errors. You know, this is something simple to make sure less human errors, less problems that go along with your network.
Yeah. And actually, you know, if you want to know about our APIs, you can go to you know, you have an account where you manage your access points. You click on documentation, and every single API in the system is listed there and an explanation of what it does. So you could copy that out, paste it into Postman, and start working right away. If you go to the Mist management site and you log in, you can actually get all the APIs. There's a help button at the top. You click it, and every API we have is listed there with an explanation. So you can copy that out, paste that into Postman, and start making API calls right away. So it's that easy to do. And, you know, like I said, it's all open. So it's not like you have to request that information. As long as you have an account, you get all the APIs.
Thank you for taking your time today to expand your Juniper knowledge and learn more about what we have to offer.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining, and we hope to see you on the next one.